Okay, here we are. So now we are going to be live on. Okay. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. It's so wonderful to see everyone. Um, I hope everyone is having a lovely week so far. We are in Tractate Shabbat, and we are going to continue the unbelievable story that we were learning about how the Jewish people, what they experienced at Mount Sinai. It really is a phenomenal piece of Gemara. It's about 2 or 3 pages long. We're right now on 88a. So if you're on the Talmud on Safari, it would be 88a in the middle of the page.
What chapter is that?
This is the 9th chapter, Amar Rabbi Akiva.
All right, thank you.
Okay? In Tractate Shabbat. All right. So I was nervous that Howard wasn't here, but it's great to hear your voice. I don't see you on my screen. And boom, there you are. There you go. Okay, I see you now. Looks like you're in orbit.
Yeah, I've always been out of space.
Okay. So another teaching about Israel's acceptance of the Torah. We are up to Amar Chizkiah. Chizkiah said, "Mai d'chsev, what is the meaning of that which is written? Mishamayim hishmata din eretz, yara ushakata." All right. From heaven you made judgment, meaning the Torah. Heard. Right. From heaven you made the judgment, referring to Torah. Heard. The earth became afraid and grew calm. Im yara lama shakta. If it became afraid, why did it grow calm? Usually when people are afraid, they're not calm. Right, doctor?
Yes,
Doctor, usually people who are afraid, right? They're not calm.
Yeah,
right? So it says like this. It says, rather, what does it mean? Ella betchilo yara. The verse means that in the beginning, before Israel accepted the Torah, the earth became afraid. Basof shakata. And in the end, it grew calm. Why? Because, now the Jewish people have the Torah. Now we're calm. Now we don't have to worry. So the Gemara explains why the earth was afraid before the Jews accepted the Torah. V'lama yara. And why did it become afraid? K'derei Rish Lakish. This can be explained with the teaching of Rish Lakish. The Rish Lakish said, "My d'chsiv, what is that? The verse that says, Vayhi erev vayhi vok yom hashishi, and there was evening and there was morning, the 6th day. Hey yisera lamali, right? There's an extra hey there. Why do I need that extra letter hey? It should say, right? It says vayhi erev vayhi voker yom shishi. What's yom hashishi? Like the 6th day. It is the 6th day, right? But there's a special emphasis on the ha, on the 6th day. Melamed shehitna HaKadosh Baruch Hu im ma'aseh bereishis. This teaches us that the Holy One, blessed is He, stipulated with the works of His creation. Amar Lam, He said to them, this is to all of creation, the sun and the moon and the stars and all of the galaxies and the grass and the trees and all of the plants and all of the produce and all of the animals and all of creation. God stipulated the following condition. If the Jewish people accept the Torah, you will endure. But if they do not accept the Torah, I will return you to astonishing emptiness. All right? So this is the precondition for the Torah being, for the world existing, is that the Jewish people accept the Torah. Interestingly, there are, there's the Midrash tells us, Chazal, the Gemara talks about, there's many, many places we see throughout the teaching of our sages that the world cannot survive today, right now. If there were to be a single moment where there wasn't Torah learning going on in the world would be destroyed. There are verses that back this up, but it's an amazing thing. There's no such existence in this world if there isn't Torah. The entire world that we have is based on that Torah is going to be studied and Torah is going to be learned. And from the moment it was given at Mount Sinai, there hasn't been a single moment where Torah wasn't studied. Right now, for the next 47 minutes, we, in our Torah learning, are holding up the world with our Torah study. That's what our sages tell us. Without Torah study, the world cannot exist. Okay? It's an amazing thing. Imagine that you're the battery operator of the entire world. It's an amazing thing. I want to just share with you, okay, that there's a big discussion to be had, and we've discussed this numerous times in other classes, about the existence of a world in spirituality. How does the world survive spiritually? So I want to just bring you into the frame of mind of what we're talking about here. So we have like this. We have a very basic understanding that a person needs to put through effort in order to succeed in life, right? It's a very, very fundamental principle. It's called in Hebrew hishtadlut. Hishtadlut means putting forward your effort. Now there's another idea, much more fundamental idea, which is called bitachon, which means trust in Hashem. What does trust in Hashem mean? That I completely put my hands up and I say, I'm not in control. Hashem, you've got this. So it's an amazing thing. Because if you work by the laws of nature, then you need to have a job and you need to have, you have to put forward that effort. But if you live in a life which is above nature, in a completely spiritual, dependent on God relationship, then guess what? You don't need to put forward that effort. So I'll share with you, I had an interesting conversation that was going on in one of the family chats, my extended family. And some of the family lives in Israel, and some of the family lives in the United States. Okay? It's an amazing, I didn't say a word. I'm sitting on the sidelines and I'm looking at this game going on between the offense and the defense, and it really is incredible. So let me share with you what was going on. What was happening is that people are talking, just in general, people are talking all over the globe about maybe it's time for the Jewish people to consider moving to Israel. Maybe this is time. Okay? And it's an important conversation to be had. It's an important thing to think about. And if someone is capable of doing that, they should do it. Okay, so the Americans chime up and they say, but what are we going to do? How are we going to support our families? So the Israeli family chimes up and they say, well, trust in Hashem. And then the American families go back and say, well, don't you have to put your efforts forward? And the Israeli family chimes in and says, well, you trust in Hashem. And it's an amazing tale of two worlds. One world, and this I can tell you this from speaking and living in Israel, but speaking to hundreds of people who live there. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. They don't know how they're paying their next paycheck. But you know what they do have? Absolute, unfiltered, undisturbed, uninterrupted trust in Hashem. How it's going to happen, I've got no idea. But I have trust in Hashem. And I'll tell you something amazing. This week's Torah portion, right? What do we see is what's going on? Parshas Shalach. Shalach is where Moshe sends in the spies, and the spies come back, and they give a negative report on the land, right? So our sages say an amazing thing. What was terrible about their report back? What was terrible about the report is that if you see yourself as being small, then you think everybody else sees you as small. I'll tell you an amazing story I heard. A really fascinating story. There was a man who lived in a city in Israel. He says, my family doesn't respect me. My family doesn't love me. People see me in the street, they don't say hello. Even the children who need to be cross, the crosswalk, right? They don't ask me to help them cross. I go to yeshiva, I go where I learn. Nobody asks me anything in learning. Wherever I go, nobody respects me. Nobody looks up to me. I'm invisible. Okay. One day he's walking in the street and he sees a big sign. And the big sign says, new hats for sale, special, right? So he says, you know what, let me buy a new hat, let me see. He goes, he looks at the hats and he's looking. He's like, wow, you know what? He puts on a hat and, a black hat, and he sees the hat, looks good, looks perfect. He says, you know what, how much is it? Sale, no problem, pays for it. He says, I'm going to have a new hat. Now people are going to respect me. Now people are going to look up at me. So he says, you know what? Instead of me walking around the streets with a new hat box, I'm going to leave my old hat here, and I'll just leave with my new hat and finish. Leave my old hat here. It's all kvetched anyway. It's all beaten up. I'll just leave my old hat here, take the new hat, and walk out with my new hat, and that's it. Okay, so he does that. And suddenly he sees people in the street. Hey, Yankel, how are you? And the kid's asking him, oh, Mr. Zoza, can you cross me? Could you cross the street? Help me cross the street. And he walks into his house, and all his kids are like, hey, Abba, how are you? So great to see you. Wherever he goes, suddenly he's so popular. He goes to the yeshiva, and everyone's asking him in his learning. He's like, so when he comes back, he comes to his house, and his kids are so excited to see him. They say, why do you look so different? They ask the father, you look so different today. So the father points up and he goes like, and they're like, what are you talking about? He points up. Like, don't you see? They're like, what are you talking about? He says, don't you see? It's a new hat. They said, no, it's not. It's not a new hat. It's your same hat. He takes it off his head and he looks, it's the same old hat. He forgot in the store, he forgot his new hat. Right? But the whole day he's walking around feeling as if he has his new hat. He has this confidence. He has this pride. Right? So he thinks everything is because of this new hat. Meanwhile, he's wearing his old hat. It's all in the perspective you have of yourself. When a person has a perspective of himself that's healthy, then people around him feel that health. People around them feel that confidence. People around them feel that joy. That joy for life, right? You can convince yourself it's the hat. It's not the hat. It's nothing to do with the hat. Doctor, you're going to use this story, right? Hopefully you'll use the story. It's a good story, right? It's all in the mind. Doctor, give us
Shalom Aleichem didn't write that?
I'm not familiar with Shalom Aleichem, but
it's a
Dr.
good
Rosenstock, what's the medical term for that?
I like it. It's a good story because it means that you have a more positive, integrated self-image, internalized self-image. And I just testified that with a bunch of lawyers here about a half hour ago.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, Dr. Rosenstock. Guys, now we have the official word on this. Take it to the bank, because this is the official word on how you see yourself. When you see yourself with confidence. What happened with the people, with the spies, when they went into the land of Israel, is they didn't see themselves as worthy. So they saw that everybody else didn't see them as worthy. It's such an important fundamental principle. It really is. It's so important for us to have a self-image that's correct, that's honest, that's real, and that's positive. You know why you're so amazing? Because God believes so. If God didn't think you were amazing, he wouldn't put you on planet Earth. But he put you here another day because he thinks you can make a difference. You are special. All right? That's why you should be dancing on the rooftop every morning. All right? Dave, I want to see a video of you dancing on the rooftop. All right? All right, so it really is. It's an amazing thing. Right? The Jewish people. So I want to say something else. Is that there's another thing, which is the land of Israel is a land which is not like any other land. We see that when Abraham bought the land in Hebron to bury Sarah, it says Vayakam ste Ephron. The field of Ephron was elevated. Right? The field was elevated. What does it mean the field was elevated? I bought a house. Does that mean that the field gets elevated now because I bought it? Well, the land of Israel is very different. First is yes, it could be, but the land of Israel is very different. The land of Israel thrives on spirituality. And then the results are beyond nature. You want to know why Israel's the startup nation? Why Israel produces one of the strongest economies from a state which is smaller than the size of New Jersey, right? It's unbelievable what Israel produces. The development, the research, the inventions, the discoveries, rather, right? All of it's unbelievable. Well beyond, its calling. You know why? Because the land of Israel and the people living in the land of Israel live beyond nature. They don't follow the laws of nature. In Belgium, in Sweden, right? In all of those other, you go to anywhere in the United States, we're living by the laws of nature. Over there, you live beyond the laws of nature. It's an unbelievable thing. I have many rabbis I've spoken to over the years, and I ask them, I said, tell me, you live on, not only you live on a rabbi's salary, you live on an Israeli rabbi's salary. Okay? How in the world do you marry off your children? How in the world do you marry off your children? Not only that, if you have a daughter in Israel, there's only one way you can marry her off. Buy her an apartment. Right? I'm serious. It's crazy. But that's the reality. Right? You want your children to get married in Israel, your daughters, you have to buy them an apartment. How do you do it? How do you do it? My rabbi has had 13 children. 13 children, married them all off, of which many of them are girls. And he bought them all apartments. And I asked him, I said, Rabbi, tell me, what's the secret? How do you do it? You know what he said? I write a check. I said, oh, that's convenient. How do you cover the check? He says, that's not my business. That's Hashem's business. And that's the way they live. In a way that's not, it doesn't make sense to us. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense. Does it make sense to Ron? Does it make sense to you? Doesn't make any sense. How do you mean you just write a check? What do you mean? Well, guess what? When you live in the land of Israel, you live under different laws. You have a different set of rules. Right?
I want to ask
Howard, what do you... Yes, Howard.
You know, you were talking about the fact that the Jewish people didn't, they felt small when they went the spies.
Right.
I have no problem with that, but it also says that one of the reasons they didn't want to go to Israel was because they didn't want to give up what they got from God, the free manna. They didn't want to have to work for a living. And that's really what I read, that's the main reason they didn't want to leave where they
were. So there's a number of reasons that are given by our sages as to why they wanted to stay there. I will share with you that there's another idea. It's not only they didn't want to give up on all of the miracles they were living by, but they also didn't want to give up their positions, right? According to some opinions, they were afraid that once they entered the land of Israel, a land of miracles, a land of unbelievable bounty, a land of success, a land which, like we just said, is above nature. So guess what? They're not going to need these leaders of the tribes. They're not going to need them anymore. So now what's going to be with our jobs? We're going to lose our jobs. Of course we don't want. It's like, think of federal government today, right? They don't want to lose their jobs. So they keep on taxing and they keep on this. Oh, so someone's got to run the government, right? So they keep their cushy jobs, right? In a way, I don't want to compare lahavdil, right, the leaders of the tribes to government officials, right? But in a way, there is a similarity of not wanting to lose their status, okay? Not wanting to lose their status in the entering of the land of Israel.
So how do you choose between all these reasons? What's the real reason? I mean, is it what you said, or is it?
There are many. No, they're not contradictions to one another. There are different angles of understanding it. At the end of the day, what happened. The Torah tells us that's what happened. Why it happened, that is, again, we have the Torah. The Torah gives us many different sources as to why.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Howard. I just have to say that Howard and Eliza and Eliana, I believe, and Pascal, I think, have been to every single class this week. Every single class this week. I'm so proud. Of course, Bruce, of course. You're there along. I hear you even when you're not on the screen. I hear you. So it's good. I know that you're there. Don't worry. It's an honor to have you in my class. Okay, so
Wait a minute.
This guy too.
So,
of course.
Question.
Yes, Dave.
Long time, huh, for a question. So
I really miss your questions, Dave. I'll tell you.
So all I have to do is write a check to somebody.
No.
And
the first thing you have to do is trust in Hashem.
It's good. The check's good.
No, just trust.
Zero in the bank. The check's good.
If you put full trust in Hashem, then yes, that's true. But it's a very high level to be in, where you have a 100% trust in Hashem. It's not a simple thing. Right?
Well,
to us, I don't feel that I have that level of
It
trust.
should be the new economy here. We'll just all write checks.
Again, when you work according to the laws of nature, it's one thing. When a person lives their life on trust, not in a specific incident. So specific incident, by the way, it works as well. But when you live your life, that every single minute of your day is that trust in Hashem, then you got it. Absolutely.
You can do it. You can just write checks. You can just write checks then.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? It'll be covered.
Oh, okay.
David,
right.
you're happy to be on the call now. You don't have to work for a living. You just trust Hashem and all your.
That's right.
I can't live in a cave, though.
Don't live in a cave. Don't live in a cave. Look, we don't have the trust that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai had, that's for sure. Right? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai literally lived in a cave for 12 years.
Right.
And Elijah the prophet would come visit him every day. And okay, we're not Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. We have to be realistic. We're living out in Cyprus, we're living out in the woodlands, in Sugarland, wherever we're living in, and we're accustomed to the laws of nature for perhaps decades.
David,
it's not going to go in one day for us to get the highest level like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in our trust in Hashem.
David, this only works in Israel. You have to move.
No, it doesn't only work in Israel, but in Israel, it's you already have a boost because the whole land of Israel doesn't live by the laws of nature.
True. Thank you.
Yes, Ron.
So what's the secret, Rabbi? How do all these Hasidic scholars spend the entire day studying? They have 13 kids. How can they afford that?
It's a great question, right? And the answer is that there's only one way to do that, and that's to have the trust in Hashem. Look, I have 5 siblings who live in Israel. And to the best of my knowledge, they all own homes in Israel. And they all have multiple children. My brother has 9 children, 9 or 10? 9 children, I believe, right? And
Baruch Hashem.
What's that?
I said, Baruch Hashem, 9 children.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. And I have a sister there with 6 or 7 children, and a brother with 3-4 children. And they're all living in Israel, and they're all on homes, right? And they're all, living. Again, they're not there to live a lavish lifestyle. They're there to focus their lives on spirituality and connection to Hashem. So in their life is a life which is more entrusting in Hashem.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
Another rabbi in town was announcing that he had another grandchild a couple of days ago. And I asked him, okay, how many grandchildren do you have? And he hemmed and hawed and he said, well, we're not supposed to tell you. We're not supposed to count.
Right.
What kind of a Bubba Meister is that?
Okay. So that is it's not a Bava Maisa. It actually says that you're not allowed to count Jews.
Where does that appear in the Talmud?
It's not in the Talmud. It says it in the Torah. All right? It says in the Torah very clearly you're not supposed to count the Jewish people because they're not countable.
Yes, sir.
Okay? It's a very important principle that we have to know that the Jewish people, again, we're beyond numbers. We're beyond materialistic reality. Right? We are a whole different, it's a different system. We don't work on the system of numbers. We don't work on the system of natural. We live in a system of supernatural. right? So the Jewish people are not counted. When you count for a minyan, you don't count 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You count, there's a verse that has 10, there are many verses, but there's one famous one, Hoshea et amecha uvarach et nachlatecha uri v'nasim ad olam, and that's what you're looking for, is that's the 10, and you say Hoshea et amecha uvarach et nachlatecha, right? You don't count the people, because the Jewish people are not countable, right? We don't count them. What, Abraham says, God says to Abraham, he says, come outside of your tent and count the stars. Can you count them? You can't count them, right? Because there are too many. He says, Ko yezaracha. So will be your descendants. They're not going to be countable, right? What does that mean? You don't count the Jews. The Jews don't have numbers. What did the Jewish people count? They counted Moshe when he did a census. What did he do? He didn't count the people. He counted their coins. Money you can count. Jews you don't count. Okay? We're
Not
beyond.
okay. Go
What's
ahead. It's not okay, but go ahead.
that? Okay, let's see. Maybe the Talmud will talk about it. Maybe the Talmud will elaborate on it here. Okay, the Gemara cites several teachings about Israel's verbal acceptance of the Torah. We will do and we will hear. Remember, Na'aseh v'nishma. David, what are you nodding your head? What's the matter? You got to unmute.
Quiet.
Well, no, but you're nodding your head. You don't agree. What's going on?
Well, isn't numbers, that's all they do is count.
But they don't count the people. They count the coins.
Well, it's not the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
What if somebody put 2 coins in there? That makes it
Can't.
zero?
Everyone has to put in a half a shekel coin. Everybody,
Okay.
right? And only them you can, and you count the coins, and then you know the number. But you don't count the people.
You don't count the people.
It's like in shul, instead of counting the people, you can count their yarmulkes. How many yarmulkes are there, right? And that way you're not counting the people. You're counting the yarmulkes. You're like, what's the difference? It's the same thing. No, it's not. You don't count the people.
David, that's the definition of a Bubameister.
What's the
No.
what is I never heard of that. What is a Bubameister?
It's a tale of a
What is
grandmother,
that?
is what he's trying to say, right?
What is
Either way, so the Gemara continues here, and the Gemara says, Dorish Rabbi Sinai. Rabbi Sinai expounded, at the time that the Jewish people preceded, we will do, two, we will hear, two, we will listen. 60 myriads of ministering angels came to each and every Jew, and they tied 2 crowns on each Jew, echad keneged naseh, one corresponding to we will do, the echad keneged nishma, and one corresponding to we will hear. But when the Jewish people sinned in the sin of the golden calf, yardu 120 myriads of destructive angels descended and removed the crowns. Shenemar, this is as it is stated, Vayisnatzlu v'nei Yisrael es edyam mahar choref, right? The children of Israel were stripped of their jewelry from Har Choref, from Mount Horeb, which is Sinai. So they got their status, and only 40 days later, they lost it. Okay? If you look over here, the commentary here on the bottom, it says, by saying we will do before we will hear, the Jewish people showed that they were prepared to do God's every command, even before they hear what those commands involve. And what we discussed is like an engagement. A guy gets engaged or married to his beloved betrothed, right? He or she don't ask what's in it before they get married. Well, what is it going to entail? Who cares? Right now, it's just about love, right? I love you so much, I'll go to the moon and back for you, and there's absolutely nothing that I wouldn't do for you, right? That sometimes changes pretty fast, but in a healthy relationship, that's the way it should remain forever, right? The Jewish people didn't say, well, let's hear what's in it. How much are you going to pay me? And how much are I? No. Naaseh, we're in. We're in for this relationship. Later on, we'll hear the details. It's irrelevant. Right now, it's just about the relationship. Okay? And the second thing is, again, how much is the 60 myriads? That's 600,000 angels corresponding to the 600,000 Jews that were standing at Mount Sinai. One angel for each person. At that time, there were 600,000 Jewish men between the ages of 20 and 60. Okay? That doesn't, again, then you multiply that by the women, you multiply that by the adults, the male and female who are over the age of 60, you multiply that by the by the children who are under the age of 20, boys and girls, and there you have about 2.5 million people. And then you also include the Erev Rav, which is the oncomers, for the Egyptian oncomers who said, you know what, we're sick and tired of Pharaoh being such a horrible leader. We're coming to join the Jewish people. Undocumented, all right? Undocumented immigrants, right? Started off in Egypt, right? Okay, there you go.
But you also have to add the Levites, don't you?
What's
That's
that?
a separate.
And that's correct. And then you have to add the Levites. And the Levites were fused to number. And for those of you who listen to Ahuva's
You don't
beautiful,
count. But you
what's
don't count,
that?
you don't count the Levites in the total. They get counted, but not in the total.
Right, and when they do get counted, they're very, very small. Considering you counted every Levite from the age of 30 and up, but you counted every Israelite from age 20 to 60, right? And yet they're still minuscule compared to the other tribes. And our sages tell us because the tribe of Levi wasn't challenged. They weren't challenged. What does that mean? When you are challenged, you grow. Right? When God challenges you, you grow. It's an unbelievable thing.
They also weren't attacked in Egypt. They were
That's
kept.
correct. That's because they were not. They were they were living in another city and learning Torah, preserving the Torah, right? Learning the Torah, and that was it. So they were never enslaved. The tribe of Levi was never enslaved. So therefore, because they were never enslaved, they never felt the challenge. When you're not challenged, you don't grow.
It's amazing Pharaoh allowed that.
Well, yeah, it is very amazing, considering also that Egypt was a very, very secular country, right? Today, Egypt is Arab, but it used to not be like that. They believed in everything but a god, right? They believed in the Nile was their god. They believed the sheep were their god. They believed, right? They had all of these different gods, anything but an actual god. Right? It really is an amazing thing. Well, we talked
They
about
actually had in Egypt. They actually had a very strong independent priesthood, which was also not taxed, and that's why they didn't tax the Jewish priesthood.
Yeah,
right.
You're right.
It could be that superstitiously they felt that it would be a bad omen for them if they also took the rabbis, and that's where the first parsonage came from.
It's also true that the lamb was chosen to the blood of the lamb was chosen because the lamb was one of their gods.
One of their gods, correct. That was the first thing that God attacked, was Dam, was the blood of the Nile. Right? The first thing. You think this is your God? He can't control the red of the sea. Right? Okay. Next. Okay, so now a related teaching. Amar Rav Chama bar Chanina. Rav Chama said in the name of Rabbi Chanina. B'chorev ta'anu. In Chorev they loaded the crowns onto the people. And then B'chorev parku. And then in Chorev, the same place, Mount Sinai, they unloaded the crowns. B'chorev ta'anu. At Chorev they loaded the crowns. Kedamar, and as it says in the pasuk, in the verse, B'chorev, right? It brings the verse earlier, Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael es edyam mehar Chorev. Right, the Jewish people were stripped from their jewelry at Mount Chorev, which is Sinai. And now, how do we know that it was B'chorev Paraku, and at Chorev they unloaded the crowns, because it says Vayisnatzlu b'nei Yisrael, and the Jewish people were stripped. Okay. The Gemara relates what subsequently happened to the crowns. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, "Yichulam zacha Moshe netalam." Who got all of those crowns? Now those crowns are just up in the air, right? You have 1.2 million crowns, right? You have the crown of Nasa, the crown of Nishma, Where are all those crowns? What happened to them? So who got them? Moshe merited to receive all of them, and indeed he took them. This smichle, because next to it, the verse says, Moshe yikach es ha'ohel, and Moshe would take the tent, right? After stating the Jewish people of Israel were stripped of their jewelry from Chorev, the Torah continues, and Moses would take the tent. The verses are juxtaposed to teach that Moses took the jewelry, the crowns, that had just been removed from their people. Alternatively, the teaching is based on the similarity between Ohel and Hilo, right? Hilo means shining, which appears in Job. Behilo Nero Ale Roshi, right? When his lamp would shine, Hilo, over my head. The word Ohel thus alludes to the shining crowns that were formed from the radiance of the Shekhinah. It was these crowns that caused Moses' face to glow, as we see later on in Exodus 34:29. Okay?
Rabbi?
Yes.
Why did it take 40,000 additional angels to strip them?
More. It took double. It took 1.2. Okay, 1.2 million. There's 600,000 to put them on, and they needed double to take them off.
Okay, I thought earlier you had said 100,000.
120,000. 120.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you.
No problem. Let me just double check that.
There's 1,200,000.
1,200,000. 1.2. Yeah. So it's double.
Yeah.
I guess because building is always easier than destroying. Perhaps. Okay. So now the Gemara continues. The Gemara says another teaching about the crowns. Amar Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish said, in the future, the Holy One, blessed is He, will return these crowns to us. Shenemar, as it says, Hashem Yeshuvu Novo Tzion Berino V'Simchas Olam Al Rosham. And the redeemed ones, referring to the Jewish people of Hashem, will return and come to Zion with song and with everlasting joy upon their heads. What are those heads? What's on their head? Simcha sheme'olam al rosham. This alludes to a joy that was upon their head long ago, right? The crowns they received at Sinai. The Simchas olam al rosham. It's referring to the same crowns that we had way back when are going to be back on our heads and in the right time. Okay, we're waiting for that time. By the way, we pray for it every single day, right? We say Et Tzemach David Avdacha, right? And the growth, the sprouting of your servant David, right? It should grow quickly. What is that growth? That growth of the coming of Mashiach, because it's a slow process for us to get Mashiach to be in our midst. Okay, the Gemara elaborates further upon the declaration of we will do and we will hear. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar said, at the moment that the Jewish people recited the words, they preceded Naaseh, we will do and we will hear. What happened? Yatsa Baskol v'amar lehen. A heavenly voice emanated and said to them, Migila lebanai razeh shemalachi asharis mishtamshim bo. Who revealed to my children this secret which the ministering angels use? Dichsiv, for it is written that it is written that this is the way of the ministering angels. Baruch Hashem malachi gibore koach osei devaro lishma b'kol devaro. See, he says osei, and then it says b'kol. Bless Hashem, O His angels, the strong warriors who do His bidding, to hear the voice, right? Who do His bidding, and then to hear the voice of His word. Bereisha osei. First we do. First it is written who do, and then v'hadar lishma, and then it is written to hear. All right. The Gemara continues on this theme. Amar Rav Chama bar Rabbi Chanina. Rav Chama, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said, "Mai dichsiv katapuach batzei hayar." What is the verse that says? I believe this is in in Song of Songs, I believe.
I think it's in
Song
Psalm.
of Songs 2:3. It says, like an apple tree among the trees of the forest. Why are the Jewish people compared to an apple tree? To tell you, just as in the case of an apple tree, its fruits precede its leaves. So did the Jewish people precede we will do to we will hear. The fruit came before the leaves. A related narrative. Hahu mina there was a Sadducee, okay, a Sadducee, right? He was a counterfeit who came to Rava, who saw Rava studying a Talmudic matter. V'yosfa etzbo biyade tose karaye. This is all in Aramaic, and Rava had put the finger of his hand under his leg. V'kamayitzbe, and he was crushing his hand. He was crushing his hands under his legs. V'komavyon etzbo dama, right? And his fingers were flowing with blood. Amar lei, the Sadducee said to Rava, Ama pazizo dekadmisu pumaychu leudnaichu. He says, "Oh, impulsive people who put their mouths before their ears. Akati bipach zusaichi kaimisu, right? You still preserve in your impulsiveness. Look at you. You're cutting. You put your hands under your feet, and now your hands are bleeding. Look at you, people, that you're so impulsive that you just do things without thinking it through, just like you did for Nasav and Ishma, just like you said, we will do and we will listen before actually knowing what you're saying. First, perhaps you should have heard the commandments so that you would have known, and if you would be able to, accept it. But you didn't even listen to what it was, and you just accepted it like a bunch of, all right, like a bunch of, how do you call it? What's that word? The word of being paziz is to be impulsive, right? Right? Okay. So, you see, he says, "V'ilo," and if you do not hear the commandments, lo kablisu, you should not have accepted it. Amar lei, Rava responded back to the Sadducee. What did he say to him? Anan, we. Now we're on the top of 88b on top. The Sagina Bishleimusa. We go in the ways of complete faith. Ksiv ban. It is written about us. Tumas Yisharim Tanchem. Right? Right? The perfect faith of the upright shall lead them. Hanach inshe desagan be'alilusa. Right? Those people who go on the way of perverseness, ksiv bei v'selef bogdim yishodim, and the perverseness of the faithfulness shall destroy them. Right? It really is an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing, right? The perverseness of the faithless shall destroy them. So again, this actually leads up to the conversation we said earlier, right? Of there's different ways you can live life. You can live life in a life of emunah, of true faith, knowledge of Hashem, or we can live life in a way that is no, it has to be understood. We have to understand it. It has to be make sense to us. And we see that the Jewish people, although we're very, very talented in many, many different areas of life, using our common sense, right, is the least of our problems, right? That's the least of our problems, because when you have the hand of Hashem helping you and guiding you, then your own logical understanding of things doesn't really matter much. Okay. So now the Gemara continues. Another Agadic teaching about Israel's acceptance of the Torah. By the way, is there anyone of the Jewish people who would say, you know what? If we had to do it over again, we would first listen and then decide? Absolutely not. That's what the Jewish people are about. That is the essence of who we are. The essence of who we are is that we care more about our relationship with God than it making sense. And the minute it is the danger of our society today, is that everything needs to make sense to us in a way that, like, we Google everything. So Google it, right? Today, people don't need rabbis anymore. You know why? People don't have rabbis. People don't want to be in synagogues anymore. You know why? I have Google. What do I need a rabbi? Right? What do I need a rabbi if I have Google? Right? I can just ask Google what to do. Right? It's true. There's a whole generation of millennials now who don't feel like it's important, A, to be part of a synagogue, B, to have a rabbi, because they can just ask Siri or Google or Alexa, right?
It's
a lady rabbi.
Not that much different in medicine.
Oh, really? So the people don't go to medical school anymore?
No, I mean that. The people who you take care of, they look everything up on Google and they challenge you. Google says, and you say this, and how come you say this when Google says that? It's like,
so why don't you tell them that they should go to Google to treat them?
I tell them to have their babies with Google.
Yeah, WebMD.
That's right. Okay, so another agadic teaching about Israel's acceptance of the Torah. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar Rabbi Yonasan. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani said in the name of Rabbi Yonasan, "My dichsiv, what is the meaning of that which is written? Libaftani achosi kalu libaftani ba'achas me'enayich. You have captured my heart, my sister, O bride. You have captured my heart with one of your eyes. Batchila, at first, when you accepted the Torah, ba'achas me'enayim, you attracted me with only one of your eyes. Likishetasi. But when you perform the Torah, you attract me with both of your eyes." Right? What does that mean? So the verse speaks of Israel's connection with Hashem, which was formed at Sinai. However, at Sinai, there was only acceptance of the Torah and not observance. While still at Sinai, the Jews sinned with the golden calf. Therefore, the verse specifies one of their eyes. The eye represents the process of seeing, right? Which can occur either in one's mind or in reality. With the Jewish people, when the Jewish people accepted the Torah, they saw it only in their eyes, in their mind, one eye. It was not until they carried out the Torah that they saw it in practice, in practicality, and then physically as well, and that's when it became two eyes. Okay, so there is a very important perspective here to have, is that, again, when we just, in theory, it's considered one eye, but when you're able to dig in and get an understanding of it, that's when it gets into two eyes. Okay, the eye of the mind and the eye of the physical, right? We can see it, and it's actually an idea that we've discussed. Hanukkah time, we discussed this idea where the lights of the menorah, it says in 2 weeks ago, actually, we said in Bahalotcha. Was it last week? Last week was Bahalotcha. So in Bahalotcha last week, Aaron lights the menorah. What happens when he lights the menorah? Right? It says V'ra'os pnei menorah, and you shall see the face of the menorah. What is this to see the face of the menorah? Our sages tell us this means that when you look at the menorah with your physical eyes, it doesn't impact only your physical senses, it impacts your spiritual senses. Because we have two sets of eyes. Now we know why we cover our eyes when we recite the Shema. When we recite the Shema, we cover our eyes because there are two sets of eyes. There's the eye of the mind, and there's the eye of the body. Right? And what we're trying to do is engage both. So when we're saying Shema, we remove ourselves from a physical world, and now we want to see God in a spiritual way. We want to see God without any distraction. We want to see God without any interruptions. So we close our eyes so we can use the eye of our mind. Okay? Let's see one more piece if we can. Okay? While still at Sinai, only a few weeks after accepting the Torah, the Jewish people sinned with the sin of the golden calf. Right? The Gemara describes this sudden downfall. Amar Ula said, Aluba kala mizana besoch chupasa. How shameless is the bride who is unfaithful while still in her bridal chamber. Right? Ula used this allegory to describe the shameful behavior of the Jews who, while still encamped at Sinai, the bridal chamber, so to speak, where God had taken them to be his holy nation, were unfaithful to him by worshiping the golden calf. Right? We find elsewhere that the revelation is likened to a marriage between God and Israel. We've discussed this numerous times. Furthermore, they were still involved at that time in receiving the Torah, for Moses had not yet brought the tablets of law down from the mountain. Right? So they're still in the process, and they already had an affair. It's the craziest thing, right? So the Gemara supports Ula's description of Israel's behavior. Amar Rav Mari Bera Debas Shmuel. Rav Mari, the son of Shmuel's daughter, said, Mikro, what is the verse that reflects Ula's sentiment? Ad shehamelech b'msibo nirdi. While the king was still at his banquet, my perfume gave out its fragrance. And what it says here, this is from Song of Songs, Rav Mari interprets Nasan, gave out, in the sense of abandoned. Thus Israel confessed that while the supreme king still sat at his wedding banquet, so to speak, her perfume abandoned its goodly fragrance to others. She was unfaithful to him. That's what the Jewish people were. So that he brings it from a verse in Shir HaShir. Rav remarks, Amar Rav, ve'adayin chavivusa hi gaban. Though the verse describes our nation's disgrace, it is still with a show of endearment towards us that it does so. Diksiv, because it says, Nasan v'lo ksiv histriach. It says he gave out a scent, he gave out a fragrance, and it doesn't say it was putrefied. The Gemara records another context in which the root alev is used, right? It says over here, aluva, which means shameless, right? So where does the word aluv or alev, where is it used? Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught in the Brisa, aluvin ve'enam olvin. Those who suffer insult but do not insult in response. You hear this? It's unbelievable. If someone insults you and you don't insult them back, shomin cherpasan ve'enam meshivin, they hear their own disgrace but do not reply. Osin mi'avo smechin b'yisurim, who perform God's will out of love and are happy even in suffering. Aleim akasuv omer. Regarding these people, the verse states, ve'ohavav b'kitzeis hashemesh b'gvuraso. But they who love him, God, shall be as the sun going forth in its might. Right? And that's right. It says right. So the Brisa alludes to the Agada, to the Talmud in Chulin, Tractate Chulin. It says that the moon was originally as great as the sun, but was reduced in size after complaining that it was not fitting for two equally great luminaries to reign together. The sun, which did not respond to the moon's complaint, remained undiminished. Similarly, those who suffer insult but do not respond will be as the sun that goes forth in its might. They will emerge undiminished by their silence, whereas their antagonists will not only fail in their schemes, but will be humbled as well. All right? So we'll stop here now, and I look forward to continuing next week. My dear friends, I want to bless you with an amazing Shabbos, right? Have an amazing Shabbos. Stay safe. Don't do anything that I wouldn't. And if you do, don't forget to send me pictures of it, right? But
Good Shabbos.
But have a great Shabbos. Enjoy. Stay safe. And I really look forward to the day that we'll be able to meet back again and have Ed's delicious lunch for our Thinking Talmudist Lunch and Learn. So,
Yeah, I miss that pizza.
Yeah,
Rabbi.
that's right.
Good Shabbos, everybody.
Have an amazing Shabbos, everybody. Thank you so much.
Rabbi.
Yes.
Rabbi, they're gonna put the defibrillator later in me Tuesday.
I'm davening for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I need it.
you should have tremendous health. Bruce, we need you strong, we need you healthy, and we need you for a very, very long time. So don't do anything silly. We need you.
Kenya Hiratzon.
Amen.
Amen.